7 News covering the crisis in the classroom tonight. And this week, a debate has been underway over Governor Youngkin's proposed history standards. These standards would impact how students learn history in Virginia public schools for the next 7 years. Nick Maddock has the latest, all new at 5.
I'm not sure where we're going from here.
Virginia Board of Education President Daniel Gecker expressed concerns about Governor Glenn Youngkin's administration's draft proposal for history curriculum standards. The concerns were echoed from Richmond.
I can go on and on about what's deleted.
To Loudoun County.
Included in our standards, Columbus Day. One who have been federally disapproved. We celebrate Indigenous Peoples Day.
The Loudoun County branch of the NAACP held a news conference in Ashburn as the Board of Education reviewed the proposal in Richmond.
Any history regarding Dr. King or MLK Day was deleted from the history context. That is abominable. Deleted from our standards is any mention of Doug Wilder.
7 News checked, and Doug Wilder and Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. are included in the history curriculum proposal. 7 News pointed that out in the news conference.
Anybody else that has a legitimate question?
Would you like to answer my one question, though?
I'm not answering anything from you.
Which is there something that is not in the curriculum
so much.
that you would like to see included?
Yes.
That's a fair question.
Oh, that is a fair question. There are many things that I would like to see in this curriculum. More inclusive information about the success of African American, the accomplishments of African Americans. Those things are important.
Back in Richmond.
There's confusion where people, and we saw a lot of that this morning, right? People saying stuff's out when it's not, confused.
The latest criticism of the proposal was discussed and debated.
I've seen this movie many, many times. This process is always passionate, messy, political.
Nick Maddock, 7 News.
Please leave the podium and sit down.
You want to squelch the speakers. You don't believe in their First Amendment right.
Well, first tonight on 7 News at 6 o'clock, there are new developments following this intense school board meeting that happened in Spotsylvania County. Last night at 11 o'clock, we showed you the frustration over the board's controversial choice for their new superintendent.
Mark Taylor is still awaiting final approval from the Virginia State Board of Education, but some parents feel he's not at all qualified for the job. Tonight, only on 7 News, our Heather Graff went to Greene County to speak with the controversial candidate one-on-one.
The Greene County Administration Building in Standardsville, Virginia, is where we caught up with Mark Taylor on Tuesday.
Now, you have no background in public education, so I want to ask you, what do you think makes you qualified to be a superintendent of a school system?
Certainly, thirst for truth.
He's the current county administrator here, but the Spotsylvania County School Board wants to hire him as superintendent, despite concerns that were on full display at last night's school board meeting.
Mark Taylor's appointment for school superintendent must be rescinded and denied.
Some parents pointing to Taylor's lack of experience in education and saying he's just not qualified for the superintendent job.
I have no idea what the numbers are, speaking either for or against my taking the position. But I do know that at the end of the day, the appointing authority is the elected school board, and the decision really is theirs.
How long have you known Mr. Twigg, the board chairman?
I have known, first of all, I've known Mrs. Twigg, my wife, known the Twiggs back to, I don't know, 2005.
Is he a friend of yours?
He is it's fair to call him a social acquaintance.
Taylor did acknowledge he and his wife have been serving as board members on a nonprofit run by the family of school board chairman Kirk Twigg, but said the position never involved financial payments.
It's not a conflict of interest under Virginia law. It never has been a conflict of interest under Virginia law. It is, clearly, from what I can see in the news and have heard of it, a distraction. So in the interest of removing the distraction, I have resigned from the Emerging Stars board.
I still have the floor.
As for the deeply divided school board that he could soon be working for, Taylor insists that is where some of his past work experience will prove beneficial.
Much of my professional work has been devoted to serving deeply divided boards. I think I can help them. I want to help them.
Parents also part of that equation, though. You said earlier that you feel strongly parents should have a voice in their child's education. Well, what do you say to those parents who say your hiring is not listening to their voice?
Give me a chance.
I motion to recess.
The second night in a row of contentious Spotsylvania County School Board meetings.
No confidence. Mr. Chairman, I move you have two motions to
With some board members doing all they can to stop the appointment of Superintendent nominee Mark Taylor, a candidate with no instructional or educational experience. Councilmember Nicole Cole announcing that she's having her attorney file a suit in circuit court to block him.
He is requesting the school board defer its decision until the conclusion of all litigation.
3 opposing school board members do not have the votes to stop the appointment, but they are getting their thoughts on the record.
Part of it is getting on the record, but on the record to be transparent to the public.
And Friday.
It is a personal family matter.
It is
about
not
to
a
read.
personal family matter.
Cole also read from a letter that was sent to each board member that she says is from Taylor's youngest child.
Mark Taylor is beyond underqualified for this position. I believe he would be detrimental to the well-being of future students.
Taylor has also come into question for Facebook posts that opponents say are racist and homophobic.
I can say that both Mr. and Mrs. Taylor are transphobic and homophobic, and I have known them to be casually, carelessly, and almost unintentionally racist.
And Friday, a new post on the same Facebook page believed to be Taylor's regarding those posts in question. It reads in part, quote, "Some are posts I don't recognize at all, prompting me to adjust security for the first time ever."
He's going to become the superintendent. And, you know, like you said, we have to give him a chance. We have no choice.
I think that there needs to be a change in direction.
Harry Jackson and Stephanie Lundquist Aurora are among the first Republican candidates to announce their campaigns for Fairfax County School Board.
I think we need to have a return to excellence in our school system. I think that our school board is not best serving the needs of the children in our community, and certainly not the teachers either.
But right now, there's a Republican war happening in Fairfax County when it comes to their campaigns.
Stop with the emotions!
We are here to be civil. This is not a backyard for all.
The tension reached a boiling point in a recent Fairfax County Republican meeting where some people expressed support for Jackson and Lundquist Aurora, and others expressed outrage.
Today, a video came to light of Harry Jackson and Stephanie Lundquist Aurora mocking a severely autistic boy singing the national anthem at a school board meeting on June 30th on Harry Jackson's Shadowboard program.
7 News looked at the video, and it's true. Jackson and Lundquist Aurora appear to be laughing at a student who was singing the national anthem at a school board meeting.
Yeah, I was still processing what we just experienced.
Do you think that's acceptable behavior?
Well, at the time, and that was a mistake, and mistakes happen. No, that's not. We didn't realize at the time, if you're looking at the video, that the students, that we thought that the school board had decided to just replay the national anthem. We didn't know it was a student.
Do you regret it because of what you did, or do you regret it because you got caught doing that, laughing at a student?
Well, we have to hold our public officials accountable, and those that run for office accountable as well. So, I mean, it was a mistake, and yes, I do regret it.
You do regret it. Would you apologize to that student and his family? Would you apologize to him?
No, absolutely. That's what a leader should be doing when they make a mistake. I didn't realize it. I did not realize it was a student. I thought it was an adult. I didn't realize what other issues or ailments was affecting the student.
In a statement, Lundquist Aurora told 7 News she sincerely apologizes to the student and his family, and she said her laughter was inappropriate. In Fairfax County, Nick Minock, 7 News.
It's extremely, unfortunate. It's extremely concerning.
That's Sergeant Winfred Lewis with the Chesterfield County Police Department, who says his agency first arrested Darren Thornton on November 19, 2020, for solicitation of prostitution from a minor. And when investigators learned he was an employee of Fairfax County Public Schools, Lewis says they alerted FCPS the very next day, a notification that is required under Virginia state law. Yet somehow Thornton continued working as a counselor at Glasgow Middle School for almost 2 years, even as he was subsequently convicted of that sex crime.
As far as the November 2020 arrest, our records show, which our records folks are pretty diligent about that, and they keep record of who they notify and how. Our records indicate that the superintendent at the time was emailed.
The superintendent at that time was Dr. Scott Brabrand, who no longer works for FCPS. And the new superintendent, Dr. Michelle Reed, told 7 News they have not yet been able to obtain a copy of that email reportedly sent by police November 20th of 2020.
I understand that that information was released today, and our staff have been working closely with the Chesterfield Police Department in an effort to have an opportunity to review the copy of that email, as it's a key part of our deep investigation.
All of this coming to light right now because Thornton was arrested a second time by Chesterfield County Police in June of 2022 in another undercover prostitution sting. Dr. Reed saying she was made aware of the situation on July 28th and took immediate action to fire him.
I think at this point in time, clearly there's an accountability question. And today, as we find ourselves today on August 19th moving forward, I'm accountable to our community to make sure that we have safe schools beginning Monday.
When people ask, how did this happen? How do you answer that?
I think that the only answer I can give, in all honesty, is that it was a systems and process failure.
Yeah, this is an astonishing revelation.
Virginia Governor Glenn Youngkin is blasting Fairfax County Public School administrators for allowing a man arrested and convicted of a sex crime with a minor to work as a middle school counselor.
This is wholly unacceptable. And this is, again, a failure on behalf of administrators to, in fact, protect students. And this is the primary challenge we have right now, is how do we keep our students safe in schools? So Fairfax County better investigate this immediately. They need to find out who's at fault.
I have a daughter who is in Fairfax County Public Schools. And I, like every parent who got that email, was dispirited, scared, and quite frankly, justifiably upset.
When it comes to politics, Fairfax County Commonwealth Attorney Steve Descano and Youngkin don't agree on much, but they are finding common ground on how the Fairfax County School District handled this situation.
We want to be able to drop our sons and daughters off at school and know that, you know, they're going to be in a safe place. That's what we expect. That should be the expectation. You know, I would say I'm glad they're looking into it, because quite frankly, this never should have happened.
We have to stop putting our students' safety secondary to procedural problems. I have just asked our state superintendent of schools, Jillian Balow, to make sure that the Department of Education is reiterating the hiring policies, the background check policies that are critical to make sure that we never, ever have a middle school counselor that has been arrested for soliciting sex from a minor in our school system. It must stop, and we're going to do our part at the State Department of Education.
And 7 News has learned the governor's state superintendent, Jillian Balow, is going to send communication to all school divisions this week to remind them of their hiring responsibilities and guidance to protect students from employee misconduct.
Tonight, an exclusive crisis in the classroom investigation has the 7 News I-team following billions of dollars meant to help students and teachers get through the pandemic.
You know, when COVID hit, the federal government gave schools all across the country $190 billion. Now, 2 years after that money poured in, investigative reporter Mitch Blocker is asking why so much is still sitting in school savings accounts.
I can park right here till they come out.
Cassandra Gentry is back to her routine. Every afternoon, she picks up her granddaughter Jada from school.
We're who they depend on.
But the pandemic threatened that stability. Gentry, like many concerned about COVID, kept Jada out of class. The isolation, she told us, took its toll socially, academically, and emotionally.
My granddaughter completely shut down.
Jada isn't alone. Studies from Harvard University and the federal government show the average American student is months behind in reading and math. Kids' mental health is also suffering.
I need some help. I need somebody to come in and help me to bring my child out of this shell. I don't want my child to just sit here and waste away when all of this is available for her.
What's available is $190 billion. It's the largest federal investment in American schools in U.S. history. But when you dig into where and when and how all of that money is being spent, you can't help but wonder if school leaders feel the same sense of urgency that people like Cassandra Gentry do. Nearly 2 years into the pandemic, 23 months after billions poured into schools, the Government Accountability Office found American schools spent less than 20% of their federal money. You don't have to go far for examples. Statewide, both Maryland and Virginia's schools say they spent 28% of their COVID relief money. But the latest records show Washington, D.C.'s own public school district spent just 17.5% of their federal money.
The public need to know what's going on. We need some answers.
We tried to get some from D.C. School Chancellor Louis Farabee. He wouldn't schedule an interview, so we caught up with him at a public event.
Will you talk to me for a second? Tell me, why isn't the district spending all of its COVID relief money?
The answer becomes more important when you consider all this money has an expiration date. D.C. schools had until September 30th, 2022 to spend its first $22 million. But federal oversight records show more than $3 million still in the district's account. Another deadline is coming in October 2023. D.C. schools have to spend another $87 million by then. By October 2024, schools have to spend all of their COVID relief money or give it back to the Department of Education.
$303 million is ultimately what you're going to have to spend over the next 2 years.
Yeah, well, not a challenge because we had significant health and safety investments that we made in our HVAC systems, ensuring that we had health and safety staff to ensure that students and staff were safe.
What are your priorities for using all that money?
Again, health and safety and academic acceleration.
But there's a lot of money.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'd love to have a more substantive conversation, sir.
Now, what we found in D.C. schools, it is not unique. School districts across the country appear to be having trouble spending the $190 billion that the federal government sent them. The U.S. Department of Education did notice. They extended that deadline for the first round of money.
Well, this week, staff and students are going to return to Edmund Burke School. This is after a gunman opened fire on their campus in D.C. That shooting was a frightening reminder of how important it is to prepare for these kinds of things.
7 News has been sounding the alarm about D.C. public schools failing to practice fire drills. School leaders promised changes because of our reporting.
Yeah, but tonight, I-Team reporter Mitch Blocker found that many schools are unprepared to protect kids in other emergencies, including a shooting.
That's me. A while ago.
Missy Dodds thought her classroom was safe.
I can remember the screams, the smells, the sounds.
But a single gunman shattered that belief.
How many students in your classroom did he kill?
He killed 5 of my babies.
At the time, the shooting at Dodds Minnesota High School was the second deadliest in American history, behind only Columbine. Just like most American school districts, Dodds had an emergency plan for this exact scenario. But there was a problem.
Did your school practice lockdown drills?
No. I do not remember in my 3 years there ever having a lockdown drill, ever having the conversation.
Missy Dodds wants her story to serve as a warning. Schools in Virginia and Maryland, in D.C., they also have emergency response plans, but our investigation found that many are not following them. The D.C. Fire Marshal is responsible for approving school emergency plans in Washington. They lay out how evacuation, weather, lockdown, and fire drills are supposed to work. But as recently as 2019, few D.C. schools were ready for these emergencies. The D.C. Inspector General found only 24 of 114 schools' emergency plans were approved by the Fire Marshal.
After the 2019
after
letter.
2019, the schools went out and did their plans,
And you've approved all of those plans?
The Fire Marshal's office has approved all of those plans, yes.
But the D.C. School District's own records show few schools practicing for emergencies. Since 2017, district records show 12% of D.C. schools practiced the required 2 emergency evacuation drills each year. 55% did the 1 required weather emergency drill. Those same records show less than 60% practiced the 2 required lockdown drills, which includes what to do during an active shooting.
Were you aware of these numbers?
No, I'm not.
Is that something that you're also supposed to oversee?
No.
But it's in the emergency plans.
It's in the emergency plans, but compliance with the emergency plan falls to the school safety office.
No one in D.C. school leadership would take time to talk about safety drill oversight or tell us specifically what they're doing to prepare for life-threatening emergencies. When we previously asked School Chancellor Louis Farabee about similar problems with fire drills, he promised to fix the safety failures.
We're working with our principals. We've shifted some internal protocols to ensure that that happens the way it should be.
In an email statement to 7 News, D.C. Schools Communications Office responded to our findings saying, in part, it is proactively working with school leaders to complete all their emergency safety drills with the goal to be 100% compliant for the remainder of the year. We have our own recent example why these drills matter, and take it from a teacher who had the safety plan on her desk, but never practiced it.
I get mad when I think about it as far as why are we not doing everything we can?
Now, while we focused on D.C. public schools for their safety drills, we also found some of these same failures in Virginia and also in Maryland, guys.
Right now, D.C. Public Schools has the most lost or stolen equipment out of 4 school districts 7 News investigated in the DMV. DCPS has 16,125 items missing or stolen over the past 4 years.
It's concerning. I really didn't even was aware of it, to be honest.
3,470 desktops are gone. Only 20 recorded as stolen. The Dell Optiplex 3010 tops the list of missing desktops at 582. Each one costs $199. More than 10,000 laptops are gone too, 55 stolen. The Surface Go Gen 2 LTE is the laptop missing the most at more than 3,000 gone. And just one of those goes for $399 a pop. Here at Eastern Senior High School, they top the list when it comes to lost or stolen pieces of equipment that belong to DCPS. They have more than 700 items vanished. Here's the rest of the list. Go to WJLA.com and click on the location of your DCPS school on our interactive map. Up pops that school's total number of missing or stolen technology. Eastern is followed by Ballou High School, Truesdale Elementary, Roosevelt State High School, and J.O. Wilson. DCPS tells 7 News its devices contain a geolocating system that alerts the district if a lost device connects to the web, and the system installed gives it the ability to completely disable a device and wipe the hard drive remotely. Mark Ostrowski with Checkpoint.com says remote wiping is a good option, but isn't a 100% safeguard. Any missing tech not fully encrypted could lead to phishing or ransomware attacks on schools and students.
You actually can take that hard drive and just attach it to another device and start reading its data.
Alexandria City Public Schools is missing 855 Chromebooks, including 429 Lenovo 300Es that run $354 apiece. Last year, $2,300 worth of musical equipment was stolen from ACPS, and 2 years ago, one of its trailers worth $4,900 and filled with 32 bicycles came up missing. ACPS tells 7 News it replaces missing computers with refurbished ones, and for the past 2 years, it's been well below the 10% average of lost or stolen computers. Montgomery County Public Schools is still working on its list. Fairfax County Public Schools wanted 7 News to hand over $1,500 for its list of missing or stolen tech. 7 News declined to pay Fairfax County's cost for transparency.
Of course I'm disappointed, because now that the technology is gone, how are we supposed to, just in case we have another shutdown, how they're supposed to have the technology they need to get their education? They won't.
Learning loss in Virginia is worse than feared, according to a new report from the Virginia Department of Education.
We must change direction.
Governor Glenn Youngkin provided a roadmap on how his administration will address the widening achievement gaps.
We all know that the one-size-fits-all model doesn't work. We also must continue to support innovation across the Commonwealth, including lab schools, governor schools, magnet schools, charter schools.
The governor and his Secretary of Education says over the years, state leaders lowered academic standards and dismantled accountability.
We're going to have high expectations for our students, for our schools, and for ourselves. We are going to prepare every child to be successful for the knowledge economy and to be ready to follow their dreams. And we are going to promise to be the most transparent, honest, and accountable state in the nation.
The Virginia Education Association tells 7 News this VDOE report is a blatant manipulation of data, telling 7 News in a statement, this report does little to advance its stated goal, but goes great lengths to disrespect and belittle the amazing work Virginia educators have done.
Roscoe Nix Elementary in Silver Spring is where Kimber Kane teaches kindergarten.
I really just fell in love with teaching.
The veteran educator says her passion for the profession began to wane during the pandemic with virtual learning.
So many of the strategies and skills that a teacher uses with young children, like proximity and smiling and a gentle touch on the shoulder, we didn't have those anymore.
One more is... When students returned to in-person learning, the challenges continued.
They were really lacking in the social aspect of how to communicate their needs. We had so many children who did not respond to their own name.
A just-released Maryland State Education Association online poll of more than 4,700 educators shows the impact. 96% of respondents say staff shortages are a serious concern. 92% say workload is a serious concern. 91% point to burnout. And 60% say they're more likely to leave the profession or retire earlier. Kane currently teaches 19 students and says this school year she reached her breaking point.
I couldn't hold it together anymore. It was not working. I was not able to do my job anymore.
The Montgomery County educator has turned to therapy and exercise to reduce the stress and is searching for a new job out of teaching.
I'm trying to remain open to possibly returning to the classroom, but it won't be next year.
7 News on your sides, Jay Korf with some uplifting news in our Crisis in the Classroom initiative.
It's time for music with Miss Jo. There are some things I need to know.
There's a toe-tapping reason why students like 10-year-old Evie
This makes you feel happy and relieved from stress.
look so forward to Thursdays at Leesburg Elementary School.
It has been the greatest addition to our building.
Principal Sean Lacey is referring to Jordan Marshall.
They see me walking with my guitar and they're like, oh my gosh, it's Miss Jo. We're gonna jump, 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 jump.
Marshall is a music therapist at a place to be in nearby Middleburg.
Who here has ever had a bad day?
Once a week in select classrooms,
So do I have a volunteer?
she helps children learn how to better understand and manage the anxiety and apprehension forced upon them for the past 2 long years by the pandemic.
And some of the first things they told me is, I just want to live in a world where I can see my friends' faces again.
The Loudon Education Foundation came up with this idea, securing funding from Inova Loudon Hospital.
This is a need that we see in our community, so can we be a catalyst?
Hospital President Susan Carroll tells us it is time to lift the veil of shame associated with talking about our children's mental health.
What we really believe at Inova is that we are the guardians of the community's health.
I simply remember my favorite things, then I don't feel so bad.
This pilot program has been so successful with upticks in attendance and mood. Efforts are already underway to expand.
Life-changing. It's giving them the tools to understand that as a child, I can have emotions.
Nice job! Give yourselves a round of applause, because that was awesome. You guys were so brave today.
I'm Jay Korf for 7 News.